to WitchCast, the segment where me and Nana, your favorite nerd queens, will be able to interview other people who are pagan or spiritual just like us. To kick off this new segment, we have an incredibly amazing guest to join us today. Not only is she a pagan witch, a business owner, and the ghoulish gal, but she is also Shanna Stoker, a descendant of none other than Bram Stoker, the writer of Dracula.
Hi.
Welcome, Shanna. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be on.
Well, we are so grateful that you decided to come here because, I mean, we are big fans of, Bram Stoker. And we also happen to be pagan witches as well. So
Excellent.
it's like the ideal convo.
Honestly, when I had been pitching this segment to Nana for a while, and then all of a sudden I came across your TikTok page where you came out. You came out as to your followers as a descendant of Bram Stoker. I was like, you know what? I feel like this is the universe saying, "It's time. Let's do this. Let's get this new segment going." And it's been absolutely great that you agreed to come on to our little YouTube, into our corner of the internet. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. I love these types of podcasts and YouTube channels, and I'm just excited to be discovering new channels like you guys by doing these interviews. So thank you.
So to get kicked off, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit, talk about yourself and like yourself as like a witch, a business owner, etc.?
Absolutely, sure. As you said, my name is Shanna Stoker. I am related to Bram Stoker, who wrote Dracula. But I'm also an entrepreneur. I am a practicing witch, and I'm a singer and an actress. But the ghoulish gal is my kind of persona that came out of my business, the Ghoulish Garb. And that business is 3 years old now, and it is dedicated to creating unique designs to celebrate witchcraft, the macabre, Halloween, just basically everything that makes me who I am in my spooky little heart. So yeah, it's 3 years old now, and that's kind of why I decided I wanted to go ahead and come out and talk about my heritage, because when I started this business with my partner in 2018, I had a lot of people the ones who did know at least about the Stoker heritage, who said, you've got to make that a part of your brand and capitalize on that. And I'm like, I'm proud of it, and I do eventually want to celebrate it with people, but I didn't know yet, but I knew intuition wise, like that's not right for me right now. And it took a long time for me to realize, honestly, till recently when I was finally ready to talk about it, for me to realize that it didn't feel right, because I wanted to make sure that my business could stand on its own 2 feet without the help of the name recognition and the, excitement that comes from that, and the wonderful people who want to support me because of their love of Dracula and Bram Stoker. And I'm so appreciative of that new audience that I found. But I just needed to know for sure that our product, our customer service, our business model, and our brand could really stand on its own first. So I'm so proud of this business. It's my baby. I could talk about it forever. We are most well known for our tarot. We actually have, I have it right here. We have our tarot major arcana decks. So we have the original, which is in color, and it is, it's my heart. I just love it so much. But yeah, it's in color. It is a majors are only deck, because when we started this, we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't know if anybody would want tarot designs, and we wanted to go ahead and kind of test it with the majors only deck. And we have seen so much beautiful, amazing, overwhelmingly positive responses from it. And so, of course, from this, which we released on our second year, this past September, we released the Shadow Edition, which is in black and white. And this comes with a bonus card, a bonus version of the world, which is honestly, I don't know. I love this card so much. It's a Victorian lady who's coming through a wall, a mirror, kind of beckoning you. She's
amazing.
a ghost, and she's beckoning you through her portal, where she's kind of in between that, like very much for the world. And all of the imagery is there that you would want, like the corners. You've got the eagle, and that, I don't know if you all are interested in tarot, but that's my thing. I love
I
tarot.
am.
Right?
you
I
love
figured you would be. And these are, I mean, they're absolutely stunning. So that's kind of what we're most well known for. And we are working right now on a goddess inspired major arcana deck. And once that is released, hopefully at the end of next year, we will be completing the major arcana for Tarot to create the full majors and minor deck. But that's going to be a few years away. So if you like the art and you want to go ahead and get to know the decks themselves and feel the energy, I highly recommend going ahead and purchasing the majors arcana deck or the major arcanas deck, and then we will be giving discounts whenever the full deck comes out, like 5 or 6 years from now, on people who can say like, hey, I bought this from your store and I want to buy the full deck, but like I already have the majors, so we'll be giving a discount. But anyway, that's kind of a rundown of that.
We'll put that in the bio, definitely.
Yeah,
So
we
with the goddess deck, are you hoping to like depict different goddesses from different pantheons?
Yes, so that's what
Oh
we
my
worked on. We are almost done with the majors. So, okay, y'all, go to my Etsy, if you will, at some point, whenever you can. It's etsy.com/shop/the ghoulish garb, all one word, and just look up goddess tapestry and you'll see all of them. And we actually started with Hecate, who is one of my
Oh my
personal
gosh.
favorites. And she
Sorry,
is
I'm
in the
Hecate and witch,
moon.
so for me it's like,
Well, this is our Hecate.
oh my god, she's gorgeous.
But this is one of our notebooks that we sell on Amazon. But this is our Hecate. And then we recently redid it though, because we decided she was our first tarot that we did. Because I was like, I love Hecate. I love tarot. Let's see if people like this. And then basically, when we saw the response, I said, okay, well, we both were like, oh, we're the ghoulish garb. So let's try to focus right now while we're building our brand on more Halloween based stuff right now. So we decided to put the goddesses on the back burner because we wanted to go ahead and do more of like the Halloween tarot first. And so that's what we did with Terror Tarot. And then now working on the goddesses, we've created our art form and our design, our style exactly how we wanted it to be for the Terror Tarot. It's kind of woodcut. For the goddesses, we changed it from this very like angular woodcut style to more soft lines. There's glow effects in every single goddess design. And there's a lot of just gorgeous detail. It's much more 3D feeling, much more actually like a scene. Oh, good. Yay. But yeah, so our goddesses, we've done Yamaya from the Yoruba tradition. We've got Hecate. We've got a lot of the Hellenic and Norse goddesses such as Freya and Diana. Oh, Diana is stunning. And then we've tried to do different pantheons, like you said. So we have Isis from Egyptian and Bastet. And we have, oh man, what did we just do? We just finished Circe, which we haven't released yet. We're still finishing that. But yeah, if you search goddess tapestry or something, it should give you all of them, and you won't have to go through each tapestry and hoodie and sweatshirt to see the designs.
I mean,
But
we
yeah,
want to because they're so pretty.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Amazing.
And the shadow deck right now, we also sell on Amazon and on eBay. So the shadow deck, which is the black and white version, it is available for $10 off right now on Amazon, and with free shipping, with Prime shipping. So that's pretty cool. And we also have a bundle where you can buy both tarot decks for a discount, or you can buy both tarot decks and their matching sticker packs. Or if you don't want to buy the tarot deck yet, but you want the art, we have sticker packs for $15. So it's just, we have a lot of options. We want you to be able to enjoy the art without breaking your bank. Or, if you're not a tarot person, but you like the art, get it as a tapestry or a hoodie. So we really try to make it accessible for people, not just tarot readers, but anyone who just enjoys the art.
So it's safe to say you have a lot going on.
A lot. I'm also in a metal band and I'm part of a virtual musical. So I have a lot going on.
That's, you know what? All the power to you. I mean, all these projects, it sounds super, super exciting. I want to go a little bit back to the tarot, though, since we've spoken of it.
Sure, please.
What's your relationship with tarot, and how did you get into it, if you practice?
I do practice. I've been practicing tarot since I was 15. I'm now 28. So lucky 13 years. And my uncle actually got me into tarot and witchcraft. I have always been drawn to witches and it started with pop culture witches, of course, because that's what I was used to. But I remember when I was 13, I saw a documentary on Wicca and on a family who practiced Wicca. And I'm not a Wiccan personally. I don't really associate with any particular religion, but I remember being 13 and growing up in South Alabama in a very conservative Christian house, or not house, but community rather. I was very active in my church, and I remember thinking though that made a lot of sense to me, and I really enjoyed their views on nature and on animism and on spirituality, and I just thought it was really beautiful. So it kind of put a bug in my head, I guess. And when I was finally 15 or so, I knew my uncle was into the occult, but I decided to actually ask questions. I really just felt called to it, and found out that and he's converted to Judaism. So that is his religion, but he is a practicing witch. And he taught me tarot. He did a tarot reading for me, my very first one, that was so incredibly poignant, so incredibly on point too. And just, it resonated with me for years to come. And so tarot's always been something since then, since I was 15, that has just like meant so much to me. And I've realized for me personally, the way I use tarot is it's less about some mystical, way to tell your future, as many people believe it is. And for me, it's more of it's almost like psychotherapy. It helps you delve into the parts of your psyche, the parts of your ego self and your higher self together that you may not be able to fully concentrate on in your everyday life. And I think working with the spirit that I work with, working with the universal kind of spirit around me, to help guide my intuition, is where that mysticism comes in. But it's not for me imbued in the actual cards. There's an energy in the cards, but it's not like, you know what I mean? For me, that's
it's a little of you. It's a little
it's
of
a
the
tool.
cards. It's a little of the
Yeah.
spirit. Yeah.
And I see the cards more as a tool for me to work with my intuition and with my spirit, or the spirit. And it's just, and by using it in those ways, I've found tremendous success, and I've had some really wonderful readings for myself and others over the years. And but tarot for me is just, it's a therapy. And I try to do a tarot reading every day. I haven't this week. I've been so busy, but I try to do one for myself every day, just to kind of get my bearings. How am I feeling? Is there anything that the spirit or the universe is trying to tell me today? What should I focus on today, maybe? Things like that. And it's kind of like that. I call it coin flip psychology, where the instant that you flip that coin, what choice you want it to make, right?
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
not literally making the choice for you. It's not telling you what the best choice is, but it is helping you uncover within yourself what you feel is right. And that's what tarot does for me.
Yeah, well, I've been practicing tarot for about as long as you have. I found it after I started witchcraft as well, and it was my first deck was a gift from a friend. His grandma was a practicing witch as well, and he told her that I wanted to start tarot, so she sent him to, because we had to do everything at high school as if we were drug dealing, because I also grew up in a very conservative household with Catholicism. So she sent him to school with like 5 decks, and I just I sat there with each deck until I found the one that like felt good for me, and I love it. It's just something that not only is it fun to collect them because they're just beautiful, so now I'm gonna have to go look at your decks, but also because of the fact that like it's not only like it helps you utilize your natural talents and your ability to already like perceive things, and helps you also organize your thoughts. Like it just like when the cards are being sassy, you realize, wait, that's kind of like a little bit the cards, a little bit yourself. It's your intuition talking to you, and your conscious and your like superimposed self, and you're just like, wow, I'm even rude to myself.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I think when people say they're having sassy readings and stuff, that's a bit of yourself. Like you said, it's a way for you to kind of get your own wake-up call from that voice that's been trying to talk to you, but also a reminder to be kind to yourself, a reminder that, okay, the cards are being sassy. Maybe I need to be a little kind to myself today, you know?
Or like I've like had friends who are remarkably shy and like kind to, or very like soft spoken, and their cards will tell them something like in the rudest way possible. Like basically instead of saying you're gonna have a little trouble with that, you're gonna say you're about to get screwed big time. And it's like
Yeah.
and they'll like come to me and they'll be like, why do my cards hate me? I'm like, they don't hate you. That's just your inner voice that is trying to tell is trying to like tell you that yeah, you're shy, you kind of live in that whole introverted world, but your inner self is still like, you know, full of spitfire and vinegar and venom if needed.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have that power within you. But also, like, yes, you have that power, and don't discount yourself. Like, don't discount what you can do if you just give yourself the ability or like the chance to do it. You know what I mean? It's all about that point of manifestation, not just with the outward world and what you hope to get from the world around you, but manifesting who you want to be, what kind of person you want to be. And like, for instance, I try to find people, you know, when I meet somebody new, I try to see, okay, what about them do I really like? What do I want to emulate? Is there something there that I want to take and like make that I think would make me a better person or a better friend or a better partner or a better, you know, speaker to people? And that's a part of my manifesting who I want to be and creating and curating my own personality and life and environment. And I think we have so much more power over that than we believe.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on the fact that you said that you grew up in a very conservative Catholic household, Christian household. So how did your family react when you came out of the broom closet, so to speak?
That's why I switched it from household to community, because actually my household wasn't necessarily Christian. It was, or I say that, it was very much one of those households, and I don't mean this to be a admonishment, but rather just simply a fact that it was one of those households that, like, yeah, we identified as Christian, but it wasn't, we didn't go to church every day kind of, or every Sunday kind of thing. It wasn't like we were reading the Bible or having Bible study or whatever. It was just more of like, yeah, we're Christian, we're white and we're in the South, we're Christian, you know, I mean, it's that kind of thing. And but I've always been drawn to spiritualism in some form or other. And for me, being in the South, that was Christianity and church. And I started to go to church by myself when I was 11. We had a church bus that would come around the neighborhoods and pick up kids to go to church. And I mean, I had made friends at that, because I don't know why, but I started going by myself and I made friends in the church. And you know, a lot of kids were like me, I think. And we're just, honestly, I wanted to get out of the house. I wanted to get away from a kind of toxic environment that I was in. And I had to get away. And at such a young age that I sought out an environment where I could do so with other kids my age that my parents would approve of, you know? And, so it got me really into church. And I mean, and that helped me too, because I started performing with the bands at church and I started seeing spiritual fellowship in a different way. And it changed over the years, less Christian based, but I'm still that spiritual person who, you know,
Enjoys
speaks
that
to
sense of
God.
community.
Yeah, enjoys the sense of community. And like, I've realized over the years, because it's taken me a long time I had such a good relationship with the Christian God that that we talk about all the time in church. And I was like, but you know, and I hate that. I don't want to sever that. I feel like that this presence is real. It's been real in my life. It's helped me in my life. And it's taken me time to realize that presence, just because you're not calling it or believing it as the same he, him God of Christianity, because I don't personally prefer pronouns for the spirit that I work with. You know, if I'm going to use it, it's going to be they, them, right? Because I don't think it has a gender. I don't think there's a gender there. And I think that gendering it for me has caused contention. But it's taken me time to just realize my terminology has changed. My relationship with this eternal, ever-present, omniscient being or spirit that's all around us and in everything that we feel and see is the same. I was simply calling it by a different name. And that's why I believe that whether you worship Brahma and Vishnu, or you worship the Christian Christian or Islamic or Judaic God, or if you worship whatever deity you worship or non-deity, it's, to me, all a part of the same ever-present beautiful energy. And that's why I think it's all valid. I don't think it's valid to push it upon other people. I do think your personal relationship is valid, your personal beliefs are valid, and that's taken a long time for me to kind of see where it all fits together, for me. And that's how I am. But yeah, I'm grateful for my time in the church, because I went there for me, by myself. I wasn't forced. I wasn't guilted into going. I made friends. It helped me when I was in a really toxic place and environment, and it helped me realize how much spiritualism is important to me. And it got me into singing more. So, I was always singing, but that was a great outlet for me. And so, like, my relationship with the church isn't as tumultuous as a lot of witches I know. And I understand where they're coming from, because when you've been guilted into going and you've been forced into this, you coming from like a household that was very, I didn't have to bring it home with me. I didn't have that coming from the house. I didn't have religious stuff spouted at me from my parents like that. It wasn't like that. So for me, it was just more of kind of my entrance into delving into the spirit. So
I completely agree. I've always called myself a super pagan in a way, because I believe there's truth to every religion, except for the flying spaghetti monster. I kind of draw the line at at that. But when it comes to like Christianity or what have you, I believe that it's real.
I've spent, and prayer is manifestation. Prayer is manifestation.
Well, as many pagans and non-pagans who have been on the internet long enough know, Christianity did take a lot of their rituals from actual like witches and what have you. But like the thing that that always got me is that it's like, to me, God, whether he man or woman or whatever you want to call him or they, and is definitely real, because like all these deities, they had to exist at one point or another, whether they do now or not. It's up to each person's beliefs. Yeah. I used to have this image in my mind that all of the gods sort of like had their own spot. They had their people, like who they liked, their children. And then humanity caused a rift, because that's the nature of free will. We're going to cause chaos and cause a rift between religions. And personally, I grew up in a very Irish Catholic household, where witchcraft was incredibly frowned upon, especially in Harry Potter. Me and Anna are huge Harry Potter fans. We met because of Harry Potter. But
I'm a huge fan too. Hufflepuff.
Slytherin.
Knew it. I saw your tapestry back there. Yeah.
But like, it was like my mom, she kind of had this love-hate relationship with Harry Potter, because part of her was afraid I was going to delve into witchcraft, and the other part was happy that I was reading. So it was a really like complicated thing. And before I finally left the church, I went as far as becoming a pastor, because
really
her and my grandfather really wanted that. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that whenever I talk about witchcraft, what have you, because like I've been studying witchcraft since I was 13, and now I'm 28, and somewhere around 17, I took vows and became a pastor and was ordained in the Catholic Church and all that. And that was what my grandpa wanted. I had just done my confirmation, and that's what he wanted. And I became, like, I've read the Bible 6 ways to Sunday, no joke.
Wow.
And so it's like, when I made a decision to leave the church, it was, an educated decision. And I just love, but when I meet other people who are accepting of Christians more than they hate it, even though there's a lot of hate to be found, especially in the queer community. And
absolutely.
Like the big turning point for leaving the church wasn't anything to do with paganism. It was the fact that one day our priest handed out a petition to go against gay marriage, and I just couldn't Like, I was like, at the time, I knew I was bisexual. I knew I was queer. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I told my parents, I'm sorry. And I'm finally putting my foot down. I'm not going anymore. And it's like, and since then, it's been a healing journey to meet people who are Christian, who are accepting and loving. And some of that has had a lot to do with meeting Christian witches, because I've
Yeah.
found they're like the most chill and misunderstood
They're
group.
great. They're wonderful. And like the thing is, they are misunderstood because they're misunderstood not just by witches, but by other Christians. And so it's like they don't really have a
Yeah.
community outside of themselves. And that's why I always try to mention, like, I have friends who are Christian and witches. Witchcraft is a part of every single religion at its core at some point. It is, whether you want to call it witchcraft or not, the miracles that Jesus performed, the spiritualism, the prayer, all of the rituals. That's all that witchcraft is. We just simply call it witchcraft because of our beliefs being not exactly part of that pantheon, right? It's not monotheistic. It's not. And I think that witchcraft for me as a label is almost an oxymoron, because it's, for me, meant to be to say I don't prescribe to a label. I choose what I do. I don't have to do what any other witch does to call myself a witch, and neither do you. And if that means that you want to be, that you believe you are Christian, or you are whatever your religion is, whatever your beliefs are, you can still practice witchcraft. And no, I don't think it goes against any belief system, because again, I think it's all been there all along.
Exactly. And I think the term witchcraft really came about because of the fear of women in power. And
absolutely. And I have a history major, and I almost wrote my thesis on this, because there is so much out there talking about this. Like, it is incredible when you look at the fact that it was seriously so much about, which a lot of Christianity in the past has been about this, or I'm going to say systemic Christianity, not like not the actual belief system. We're talking more about the system of Christianity that was put in place, particularly by men. Yes. And so that has been a means of control, a means of, fear. And that's one of the reasons, yes, fear mongering, and a way to say, these are the rules because God said, because he told me. You are a man, you are a person, and I don't have to believe that God told you anything. Like, you know what I mean? I don't have to believe that that the God that I worship is dictating to me through you. I don't have to believe that. And if you believe that in your own life, awesome, but don't tell me what to do for the sake of your own beliefs. Like, that's my issue. But yeah, you asked about how my family reacted when I came out of the broom closet. And I do want to touch on that, because the first person that I really talked to about it was my mom. She and I have, especially in the past, like, we have a really interesting and very close relationship. And I was so nervous to talk to her about it, because at this point, when I was in about like 14 is when I accidentally sort of got my entire family to come to church all the time. And it was great, because it was kind of ironic, because that was the same time I started really questioning things. But I was performing a lot. I was doing either drama productions for the church, or I was doing vocal productions, and they wanted to support me because I was also doing theater. So like, when I was in a show at theater, the first 2 rows, 5 people there were all my family. I mean, I've had incredible support my whole life with my performance. And so when it came to church, it was no different. They all came. And my grandfather, who recently passed, he passed last year. And I love that man so much. And he's still with us. I can feel it. Not all the time, but he's there. But he actually ended up loving it, and like, he and my grandmother and my mom, and we all started going to church together every week, and like, he became a deacon, and it totally changed his life. I mean, he found so much happiness and so much purpose and so much love in the church community there. And like, we were so lucky, because it was such a beautiful community. It's such a wonderful group of people I still very much love to this day. And that a lot of the people from that church, and it's a bunch of just really old conservative white people from South Alabama, but a bunch of them still follow me and like all my witchy posts, and promote when I promote my business, and all these different things. I've And I think that comes from just not being angry and not showing contempt and disdain and saying, I still love you. I just don't necessarily believe all the things you believe. Like, I love and support you, and I appreciate you loving and supporting me. And so when I told my mom, it was like, oh God, it was like 5 or 6 years ago, I think. And I was so nervous because this was when I was really like, I had been practicing since I was 15, but it was not a dedicated practice. But I like to refer to it as an art craft, an art form, because like any other art form, you can set it in a drawer and not come back to it for a while, but that doesn't mean you're not an artist. That doesn't mean it's not your thing. Sometimes life doesn't always work for what we're trying to do. And for me, it took a long time for me to be able to really settle into my witchcraft. Even though I was practicing it, it just wasn't consistent. And when I was finally beginning to really get consistent, and I'd gotten really good with tarot, and I'd gotten really good with my daily rituals and everything, I was like, okay, it's time to own this. And part of that is going to be talking to my mother about it. And she's known my whole life that I've always been interested in the occult. I've always been interested. I've had paranormal experiences my whole life. And at first, she kind of was like, ghosts aren't real. Like, you don't have to worry about it, because she was trying to help me not be afraid, because I very much was afraid of what I was seeing. And I understand that now from an adult perspective. But as a child, it was very hurtful and dismissive. And, talking to her about that as I got older helped her understand the support I needed, I think. So that, I think, led to whenever I finally told her, we were having I was visiting from college, and we were like lying in bed together, like just watching a movie or something and talking. And I don't remember what we were doing, but I was like, Mom, I really want to talk to you about something. And I just kind of told her, I was like, I practice witchcraft. This is what I believe. I still have a wonderful love and reverence for Christianity that I grew up in, but I don't fully believe that's the only answer. I'm happy to answer any of your questions that you have about witchcraft. And she had a lot. But I mean, she was so kind. She was not judgmental at all. She didn't say anything about being concerned. And I think, again, that stems from her knowing me and trusting me and saying, you got a good head on your shoulders, and you're coming at this from a place of love and a place of knowledge and a place of research. And I trust you. And that was a thing. And I'm not saying you shouldn't believe in Christianity and it's a terrible thing. And it was just such a beautiful conversation. And I cried because I had felt so loved and so supported. And I was so afraid, because I know that that's rare, especially in South Alabama, where there's literally 30 something churches on one strip of my, where I live. It's just, it was nerve-wracking, but it meant so much to me. And it was almost like that really helped me start taking away those bricks of that wall I had formed. And it really made me realize that wall I had formed to protect myself and my beliefs was holding me back. It wasn't just holding people back from seeing what I wanted them to not see. It was holding me back from my development and my growth. And so when I started taking those bricks down and realizing, okay, first of all, I don't need anyone else's opinion. I don't need anyone else to say it's okay. But because she did react the way she did, it gave me more confidence to say, I'm okay exactly how I am. And this that I believe is beautiful and part of me. And then taking that a whole step further with the business years later in 2018, and just finally that, she was the only person that I actually actively said, hey, I'm a witch. What do you think about it? Everyone else, I just kind of started living like it. I just kind of started living my truth and being and sharing things about witchcraft on Facebook, where all of my friends and family and church family followed me, and sharing positive things and informative things. And, not, because there's so many different variations of what a witch meme is or a witchy post is. But for me, I tried to keep it positive and informative. And I tried to keep an open dialogue, ask me questions. And then the business happened, and it was just very evident very quickly, okay, she's a witch. She practices witchcraft. And again, my family has been so supportive. They buy my stuff. They wear it. They get excited. They show people my art. My grandmother, my 80-something-year-old grandmother, who I can't remember how old she is right now, but we're extremely close. And she, again, her husband was a deacon. She went to church all the time. Like she would cook for potluck every week. Like she asks me every time I visit, "You got any new art?" And she asks, like, she's been loving all of this goddess art. Loves Bastet. Persephone's her favorite now. Like, she is, and she always asks. And then I just sit there with her, like, on her iPad, and I'm like, so it can be really big. And I'm like, see this detail? Okay, this is what that means. And this is kind of like telling you this, and like explaining the symbolism behind the art. And she just is so supportive and sweet. And like my whole other side of my family, the Stoker side, is they do the same. They're like, oh, tell us about how's the business going, and it's just, I could not ask for a better support system. And like that doesn't mean I have the perfect family. I'm not trying to say that. But when it comes to this, they really surprised me. They really continuously surprised me.
That is just honestly one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. Because, like, being in the community for the last 15 years or so has been like, it's been hard watching and meeting other people who've had to go through these traumatic experiences because people didn't understand their way of life or belief system. And it's like people get kicked out or of the family just as often as they do for coming out of the closet. And it's just so upsetting, and it's beautiful to hear that your family was so open and amazing. And I especially love that your grandmother is into it. She sounds
My
like
mama.
she's so precious.
She is. I love her so much. She's always got a cigarette and a cup of coffee, and I just she's just the sweetest little lady. And she's also so spunky and funny, and just, I mean, we lived with her for like years of the first couple of years of my life, or from when I was 3 to when I was 8 or 7, we lived with her. And, my mom worked. My mom was a single mom. So she was working and she was busy, and she had the help of her parents. And so like that made me extremely close with my mama and my papa. My papa is the one who passed away last year. And I got to be with him. I mean, I got to take care of him in that hospital, and help him use the bathroom, help him get him up, help him, when he had issues. I mean, I got to be a part of that because, gosh, I don't know. We're a big family. We have our problems. Everybody does. But my grandparents on both sides are some of the most wonderful, kind, loving, and supportive people I've ever met. And I'm so grateful for them.
That's so beautiful. And I'm really sorry for your loss. It can't be easy.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not, but at the same time, he told us, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. He was ready. He was 86, I think, 87, 88. Gosh, I can't remember. I'm so bad about that. But, I mean, he had a beautiful life. He had 6 kids who all had kids basically besides me. I mean, it was just, he had a big, beautiful family. He was a deacon at a church with people he loved and loved him. He was ready, and that he was at peace, and he's doing so much better now, and he still visits us, and he's good. So like, it's hard to not have him in everyday life, to know I can't call him, but it doesn't feel like he's gone. He's not. There's always a part of him that will live on,
I love that so much. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's I think when you talk about all this, and you talk about your grandfather as well as your faith and your practice, I actually got into witchcraft from a big part. Of course, Cole was a big influence on me, but one of the major factors why I chose to sort of go into this was I come from a heavily atheistic country, like country where I believe over 70% of people say they do not believe in any religion at all. It is given by our history. So since you do like history, you would probably know, because we are in post-communist country. So
Nana's from the Czech Republic, by the way.
Okay, I was going to ask. Thank you.
Yeah. So I grew up without a religion. Like there was no religion in my family. I do believe my great grandmother from my mom's side was very religious, purely because I was told that my family did not leave the country in 68 purely because she wanted to stay in Czech Republic due to religious reasons at the time. I know that I have a Jewish heritage from my father's side, um, but I have never really had any religion in my life. And one thing that kind of came out of it was I had a massive fear of death, not just my death, but like death in general. And going to witchcraft and just, discovering and starting to work with, different deities, especially Hecate, which, she is, tied to the underworld and death and all that. It helped me to kind of come into peace with that. It helped me working with death, because most of the deities that I work with are somehow tied to death, helped me sort of find my own peace with the fact that there is a death and whatever may come after or before. And so for me, witchcraft was like really important journey of self-discovery in regards to death. And I think that that's something that's super important as well. And I never realized how important religion can be in that aspect.
I absolutely agree. And I think I will say, for me, for example, since I don't associate as religious, because I think I've sort of started associating religion with the society, or with the systems that are in place. And so for me, it's like, it's just the spirituality aspect of it, of saying, I feel energies, right? They're palpable. There's a reason you walk into a room and can say, oh, it's tense, or without even noticing body language, without any of that. Like, that's what's the core of my belief, is we are energy. We are energy in a body, not a body with energy. And energy and matter, but energy cannot be created or destroyed. So for me, it makes perfect sense that we in some way go on. And I've had a personal, very I don't want to I have had a very personal experience with death, and coming to terms with my own death. I was in a really bad car accident in 2018, and I was told afterward that I was dead for 11 minutes. And I remember waking up, and I remember the experience. And I've had to deal with death from friends and family since I was a child. So I think I've always been interested in death, and it was less of a fear and more of just an actual, like, an interest for me. But that experience helped me feel peace about it too. And it helped me also better understand the witchcraft that I was like delving into, that, for you, your witchcraft helps you understand. And for me, it was like, okay, my witchcraft is uncovering something, but like I wasn't, I guess, fully able to comprehend it yet. And that experience was what made it all click for me, is what is the reason that I can now look at my grandfather's death, which, if this hadn't happened before that, I know I would feel very differently about his death. But because of my personal experience and what I had happen to me, and the experience of like actively understanding, okay, I'm dead, and now I'm waiting for the next thing, because I really liked that. And that sucks. I liked that one, is what I said to myself. I really liked that one, but I knew there was more. And I know, because I know for me, I believe I've done this before many times,
100%.
and I believe I will do it again. And I feel like that's my soul knew. It wasn't, well, I'm waiting and I'm scared of what's next. It was, well, that sucks. I really liked that one. Okay, on to the next. And I think for me, that's what has allowed me to find peace in all of the death I've experienced, in all the death I will experience. That does not mean I do not mourn and cry and suffer from it. But ultimately, I think it's a part of life, and it makes life more beautiful, knowing that one day this life will be over for us, for the people we love. And that's why you have to make the most of it, right? That's why you have to try to do everything you can to be the person that you want to be for the people that you love and for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Yeah, no, I do agree with you on all of this. Of course, I did not have the near death experience, but I do agree that
I'm glad you did it,
is,
and I think that you've gotten there without having to have that, so that's good.
yeah. Yeah, well,
Oh, sorry, I think it lagged.
It's okay.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, but it's okay. No, so it is, death is, for me, it was always a heavy topic, and maybe it was also given, like you said, that you've experienced death around you. I actually, I was lucky enough in my life that so far I have not experienced a major death in my family. I do not still know how how I will react when it inevitably happens, because like you said, it is something that is connected and tied to our life. But I feel like with what I found with witchcraft and my practice and everything, I can handle it much easier than I would have years ago. And I think that's something that's very calming to my mind to know. Um, and this is something that sort of allows me to face it, even though it's not here yet, it allows me to face the possibility it might. And
And I think,
it's, yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I was gonna say it's, also because I live abroad and my family all lives back in Czech Republic. I don't see them every day. So it is, there is always a possibility. My grandparents are aging. There is always a possibility that I won't be there when one of them passes. And being, my practice just kind of helps me to come to terms with the fact that that may be the possibility, because I've chosen to go and do something else somewhere else, and I am okay with it thanks to that.
That's great, and I think that's hard. That's hard to be able to say, and I know that's a hard reality to deal with. And I live 8 hours away from my grandmother now. I was luckily there whenever my grandfather passed, but I know now. I mean, my grandmother's not doing as well as she was. She's getting on up there, and she is dealing really heavily with his passing. She's doing so with grace, and she's doing so beautifully, but it's hard, and I know that. And I do think about that. Something could happen and I might not be there. And I have to be okay with that too. And just like do what I can to send love and reach out when I can, and make sure that, I'm still trying to encourage this relationship and being there for her. But like, yeah, I mean, when it does happen eventually, I still fully don't believe that, I still fully believe that that's not the end. And she and her beautiful energy will be recycled back into the earth, and she will be there in some form or fashion. That both the memory of her, both a remnant of the energy that she had in this body that she has now, and also taking new form. And I think that's comforting for me. And some people find comfort in the idea that death is all that there is and there's nothing afterwards. Some people find comfort in the idea of an eternal heaven or hell. And for me, those beliefs that I've stated about myself are what bring me comfort, and it's just so personal. It's so personal. I don't think we can ever say what's right or wrong. It's just, what do you believe? What do your experiences dictate, and what brings you peace?
I'm the complete opposite of Nana. I've always been surrounded by death. It's always been a huge part of my life growing up. And like when I was little, my sister died. She was a baby and she passed away. And then, cousins and uncles and my grandparents all passed except for one when I was 8. They all passed within a few weeks of each other. And then 16 lost grandpa, and then 4 years ago I lost my mother. And so it's always been a big part of my life. And I feel it. And also it's like, not to sound ridiculous, but like I would have dreams before it would happen. And so I would know this is coming one way or another from someone. Like I always ended up with this like intuition, I guess. And like to the point where like my mom was coming to tell me the bad news about her cousin Michael, and I turned to her barely even thinking about it, and I was like, it was Michael, wasn't it? And she stopped and she looked at me and she was like, how did you know? And I said, I had a dream last night that he died. And it kind of like blew her away. But it's like also allowed me to have the coping skills, like, you know, it's like whether it be the dreams or, you know, growing up with so much death around me, it's allowed me to have the coping skills. It's allowed me to actually, instead of like, there's a lot of people who have a very unhealthy relationship with death because of being surrounded by it. But I think I have a very healthy relationship
Yeah.
with it. I'm not afraid to die. I'm only afraid of the people I love dying. And
Yeah. Same.
I feel like it's just allowed me to be able to help myself, but also help others. And I've been there for a lot of people through their losses and helped them understand it or like process it in whatever belief system they needed. And I feel incredibly blessed to have been able to do that. And a lot of it has to do with was growing up surrounded by it. And it's honestly, it's like witchcraft has helped me realize that it's not as bad as I thought. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it helped open up the doors a little bit.
I think that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's so beautiful for you to be able to say, you know, I've been there and I understand and I've coped with it in this way. So let me be your support. And like you said, in whatever way that they need, whatever religion or spiritual base or lack thereof that they need, because it's about them and it's about their loss right now, right? It's not about, that's one thing that does really bother me. And I know they mean well. And I say that I do know that they mean well, but like a lot of times people who are religious, and well, I say religious, I'm going to say Christian because that's the only, that's all I've experienced in this particular vein. When something bad happens, they want so very much to help, but all they say is things like, God has a
For a
plan.
reason.
It happened for a reason. God will make it better. Give it over to God, that kind of thing. And again, that works for them. And I know that it brings them peace. And I know that that is their way of saying it brings me peace. So it should bring you peace too. But I do think it's a little bit, I wish that more people, especially in Christian communities where they just assume everyone is Christian, and they might rightfully assume so, but it's not always true. But I wish that they were more open to giving a more empathetic response that isn't based in religion, because that does come across, unfortunately, very insensitive, almost dismissive at a point, because it's like, well, just give it over to God. That's all you have to do, and it'll be easy, you know. And it's and that might not be what they mean, but that's how a lot of times for me, after hearing it so often after my accident, that it was perceived, or that it's perceived. And I think like to hear that you are so open to just saying, "Hey, I'm here for you in whatever way you need me." I'm not going to give you some diatribe about religion. I'm not going to give you, you know, here's how witchcraft will make it better. I'm not going to do that. Just simply, I'm sorry for your loss, or I'm sorry for what's happened to you, and I'm here. And I wish more people did that, or maybe just more
And
people that I've experienced.
I've found that sometimes it helps to tell someone, you know, hey, listen, I've had a loss like that too. You know, like sometimes
Yeah.
I feel like it helps sometimes for people to hear, oh, someone else has been through this, so there's a way to get out of it. And I have this, I don't know if you could call it silly, but like, or silly or real or whatever, but I have this like little belief that if you're close to someone in life, like, you know, me and Nana are best friends, we're practically twins. Like my belief is that when her grandmother or grandfather or anyone passes away, they'll end up finding my mom. They'll meet up because our energy is so intertwined with each other, and through that our families are energetically intertwined, and that someday her family will find mine in that next life, whether it be
Yeah.
while they're waiting for someone else or they're moving on. I just like, so when a friend comes to me and they're someone, especially I'm very close to, and they're like, and I'm trying to help them through it, and I'll be like, listen, you know, your grandpa is probably literally playing a game of cards with mine. Like, seriously. Like, you know, like we are so close and we're so loving of each other, and I feel like our grandparents would end up in the same neighborhood in whatever afterlife there is, and you guys, and they're probably having a great time, and they're healing from this life and what have you. And it brings a lot of comfort to people, and it brings comfort to me too, because like, whether it's true or not, I just feel like, energy attracts energy. And so, it's like one of my close friends, Katie, I love her deeply. And when her grandmother died, I told her, listen, she's probably chilling with my grandma. Your grandmother is Russian and mine is Irish. They probably have a lot to talk about, being from old countries. And
Yeah.
And
That's good. I think that's beautiful.
Something else, not to switch gears too violently, but I did want to ask, speaking of the dead.
Yeah.
I did want to ask, so when I was talking on Twitter about, I said, okay, hypothetically, if you could speak to someone from the Stoker family, what would you want to ask? And one of the commenters had this amazing question that I wish I had thought of myself, but I can't take credit for it. And they were saying, how does your family deal with the legacy? Because they mentioned how the Tolkien family, with J.R.R. Tolkien being the author of Lord of the Rings and the legacy that came with that, like, they hate it. They literally hate being related to him because of all of the drama that comes with it. And so the question was, how do you feel? How does your family feel about the legacy that Bram or Bram, I don't know which way to say it.
Either way, I mean, I used to say Bram because it's how we do in the States typically, but I had an Irishman very aggressively tell me I was wrong. But we had it was funny. It was funny. We had a good chat. It was great. You can go, it's in the comment sections of one of those videos. And by the end of it, he was like, you're pretty cool. It's fine. But I was like, yeah, I didn't know you were Irish. I don't know. But no, I say Brom now because I'm like, I think that is the appropriate way to say it in Ireland. And I want to, he was Irish. So, but I'm good either way. Anyway, yeah, as far as that question goes, I think first of all, we're much farther removed. Because Brom did not have any direct descendants with the last name of Stoker. He had a daughter, and she, of course, took her husband's name when she got married. So, we're farther removed. And it's funny because my name, even though Stoker is not a common name, very rarely do people actually say, oh, like Bram Stoker? And then it's like, they don't expect relation. It's just more like, oh, like that. That's how you say it. And then I'm like, yeah, exactly. That was because I believe I was related to I'm related more to his uncle, like directly from his uncle. So we would be cousins. And it's always just this kind of, what? No way. Like people don't assume that I'm just related to Brom. They never, I don't think I've ever had that really happen.
So you don't end up in a situation where someone's like, I'm a fan and I've got issues I've got a bone to pick.
No, and I might now that everybody knows, that I'm like kind of advertising it, but no, so far everybody's just, that's kind of one of the reasons too that I'm like, yes, I'm related to Bram Stoker, but I'm not trying to like, I'm me. I am Shanna Stoker. I am no more knowledgeable about Dracula than any of you. Like I have an interest in everything, but like I don't claim to be the purveyor of his words or the speaker of his legacy. Like it's more so that, yeah, I come from the spooky lineage, and it's very much helped me realize that all of my interests and macabre, weird tendencies are, for me, a part of my family and my heritage.
It's a little genetic. Just a
little. Well, and honestly, that's the thing. The Stoker family, that my immediate Stoker family, like my grandparents, my dad, my uncle, we're all a little spooky. Like my uncle and I in particular. My uncle is the one who showed me witchcraft, and he's just, his entire house. He's an incredible artist. Literally, you can give him any medium, and he can just slaughter it. It's so good. It's amazing. He really is such an inspiration to me as an artist and as a creator. And I just absolutely love that man. And so it's cool to see like how he and I think because we have always, since we were children and, separately, obviously he's much older than me. But in our childhoods, we each had very weird interests that adults were like, you okay? Yeah, you're right over there. You need some help. That kind of thing. And like, and also we've both grown up with paranormal experiences that nobody else could see or experience. And so for us, I know for me, I won't speak for him, but for me, learning about my heritage when I was in second grade, learning about Brahm in particular, it helped me feel like I'm not strange or maybe I am strange, but I'm not wrong for being strange. This is exactly who I'm supposed to be. I have a spooky heart, and that's awesome. And I want to celebrate it. And like, I will say, you know, for all the support that I told you my mother gave me when I finally did come out of the broom closet, growing up, I was not allowed to express myself in a way I would have liked, right? I was very interested in goth culture. I was very interested in goth fashion. And it was made very clear to me, if you come in this house looking like that, we're going to have some issues. Not by her, but by my stepfather. And she didn't exactly say no, right? You know, I think if it were just her, she would have let me dress however I wanted to. But I wasn't really able to like explore that side of myself. But I still felt like one day you will. This is you. Don't worry about it. Enjoy your movies, enjoy your media, enjoy your books, enjoy your music. All my friends were beautiful goth metalheads, and I was over here in like pink skirts looking at, you know, like preppy. But I mean, and that's why, like, but it's funny though, because again, no regrets. I call myself now kind of a Persephone style goth.
Oh my God, I love that.
Well, it's very me. I'm a bubbly person. I'm a very like friendly person. I was born in the spring. I was born in March. I love flowers and colors and animals and all that kind of stuff, right? But I also have this extreme interest in the macabre and death and darkness and goth culture in a more traditional way. And I love things. I love graveyards and skulls and, you know, witchcraft in and of itself, I think for me and my practice is such a beautiful melange of, you know, the living and the dead. And that's kind of my brand is I guess Persephone goth. And I don't think I would have found that. Maybe I would have, but it was also heavily inspired by the fashion I clung to when I couldn't pursue the darker side of things. And it's just, you know, I think when I look at my wardrobe or when I look at my style, you know, it's not necessarily that nobody else is like that. It's just, it's very true to me. So that's why it feels unique, because it has come from a myriad of things in my past and in my personality. And yeah, I think that's all part of the Stoker legacy. It's all part of me and my growth and trying to figure out how to express myself and my beliefs and my experiences. And it all comes together. And yeah, I don't know where I was going with all of this and what question I was answering, but tangent.
Honestly,
I have ADHD, so forgive me.
Oh my, no, you're fine. Honestly, I love everything about what you just said. I also just love that little side comment. The Stokers are a little spooky.
Yeah.
Well, I actually had a question for this. So you mentioned the Stoker legacy and Stokers being a little spooky. In your family, within like this you know, Stoker line of your family, have you been aware of sort of the legacy of the family since you've been, you know, a kid, or was there a point where, you know, you just kind of found out how does this work, sort of thing?
That's a great question. So it is something that my family has been aware of for generations, and it has been proud of for generations. We're very proud, but not boastful about it. It's, again, very much one of the things, like, I'm not just going to be like, hi, nice to meet you. Yeah, you notice my name, it's Stoker. Do you know, yeah, like Bram Stoker? Like, it's not like that at all. It's more, I mean, there's people who've known me my whole life that whenever this video came out, my TikTok about like, hey, let's talk about this. It's kind of cool. They were like, how did I not know this? And it's just because like, I don't really go around advertising it. It's less about clout and more about like my personal relationship with the legacy is that it's helped me become who I am. So it's just like my family relationships. It's like, I don't know. I would assume like if you have a celebrity who's your mother or something, it's like, oh yeah, that is my mom, but she's my mom. Like she is this person, but she's my mom first and foremost. And it's very much that way for me with Brom. It's I've known my whole life, so it's, well, mainly. So it's kind of more like I have this strange relationship with this dead relative, and that has helped me. He has helped me from the dead. He has helped me become who I am and love myself and accept myself. And so to hear all the hype about him just being a celebrity, for me, it's like, yeah, I mean, that's cool, right? It is cool, I guess. But also, he's my cousin. His books and his legacy and what he's done for culture and creating the Gothic,
he literally shaped a huge part of culture.
Right. And like that is so I have to kind of take a step back to understand all of the like excitement, because there is a more intimate part of that relationship for me. But yeah, you were asking when I found out. So again, like I'd heard it, it was something I heard, but it's like like any stories about your relatives. You hear stories about your relatives. You don't know their, how significant they are at the time because you're a kid. But I was in second grade. Okay, so I told you I was a history major, so I've always loved history. I've always loved spooky stuff. And when I was in second grade, we went to the library, and or the school library, and they had a whole section on history for kids. And I found a book called like Haunted Histories or something like that, spooky history, I don't know. And I just read an excerpt about how the Black Plague was supposedly the inspiration for Ring Around the Rosie.
Mm-hmm.
And which is like, a childhood. Nana, I'm sorry, do you know Ring Around the Rosie?
Yeah, I've actually looked up the story behind it, or the supposed story behind it. I'm really fascinated. Like, I love history. We could do a separate 10-hour.
I would love it.
History, to be honest. But,
and so okay. I just wanted to make sure. I don't know, like, is it an American thing? Is it like, or I don't know where you are with all that either.
It's not something I would know, like, from my country. It's something that I learned because I'm just, around coal too much, really.
Understood. So I had found this out, and it really inspired me because I kind of became a little obsessed with, which, I mean, aren't a lot of horror people and writers obsessed with the idea of the spooky mixed with the innocence of a child, especially a little girl. So I'm in second grade at the time. I don't know these tropes yet because I'm not watching these films and taking in this media yet. So it was kind of funny. And I started writing this story about a little girl like myself in a haunted house and something about the plague and like ghosts. And it was going to be called Rose Red. And I was writing it at one point when I was visiting my grandparents on the Stoker side. And they were so excited because they were like, you're going to be a writer. You're going to like do the family legacy and all this different stuff. And I'm like, what? I mean, like I knew, but like I didn't know. And so that's when they really put it into perspective and watched some Dracula movies. And we talked about the legacy, and like Uncle Brandon talked to me about it. And it was just kind of like, I just remember it being kind of a big moment of like, that was when I realized, oh gosh, it just felt like it makes sense. I make sense now. My thoughts, my weird interests, the books I read that make my teacher say, "Are you okay?" Because it's just like I was always this bubbly, sweet kid, and like you wouldn't expect it. I'm wearing twirly dresses with flowers all over them, but I'm also, like absolutely obsessed with death and with Tim Burton films and with whatever I can put my hands on that's creepy and macabre. And it felt like
you weren't the first spooky sheep in the family. That was the thing.
It was you are exactly who you're meant to be, sweetheart. And like it felt like there was just like this feeling of comfort and of like you're on the right path, like it's okay. And in second grade to have those types of feelings, I remember, but my mom's always said I've been an old soul since I was born. That's something I've been told, and I've always had very complex thoughts of more like meta type stuff since I was a kid. And I remember talking to my mother about stuff like that, and she was just kind of like, why do you think about these things? Or how do you, like, what did somebody talk to you about that? I'm like, no, I'm just thinking. And so I remember having those thoughts in second grade. And ever since then, I think because I learned so young and because it did immediately have such an impact on me as a person and my like belief of like who I am and who I should be, and like I'm on the right track and it's okay to be weird. At such a young age, that's why I have this intimate relationship with the idea of Brahm being my relative. And again, I have to kind of step back and objectify it to being like, oh yeah, okay, people are looking at him the way I look at, like, I don't know, Edgar Allan Poe as like more of just the celebrity rather than like he was a man, he was a person, and he was more than just his work. But that sounds wrong. I don't know.
No, I
I don't know how to
understand.
explain that. I know people know he was more than his work.
I think it makes complete
but
sense. It's for you, like you said, he defines, or not defines, but he helped you sort of to discover who you are, and he just like his existence put things for you into perspective. Things that you like. And I think like in a way that can go for so many of us, and like when we look into our family history and then we discover, oh right, that person was like that, that makes sense. Now I make sense. Just say that. And it's just the difference is that for some, these people were, like you said, they were celebrities, so the rest of the world sees them as something, something they don't see them as human. They see them as sort of
that's it. That's what I mean.
Is this persona?
Yes,
Is this
it's
person
a persona
that you can't touch? It's this like something out there.
And I grew up with the relationship of his memory being about him as a family member, not as a personality or celebrity or goth culture. And so like, yeah, that's exactly it. Thank you. You're so right.
I mean, like, when I found out my dad had OCD like I did, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense now. Like, it's literally the same thing. Like,
yes, that's it. Absolutely. Very much, because it's like
even little things, like it's just it's even the like little things, like I love traveling. My mom's never been for it, but then my dad actually likes the same type of travel as I do. Oh, that makes sense. It's closer relative, but it just goes there. Because like I do believe, like, of course there's the whole nature versus nurture question, like would you be a different person if somebody else raised you? And I believe that to some degree, yes, probably you would. But like you said, Stokers are spooky people. I think that there are certain things that we just kind of inherit down the line, and it's not just the most obvious things like an eye color or hair color, but it's just also things that we carry within, things that we just end up liking, and we would end up liking them regardless. I think that's just what it is.
On that note, another thing that I've gotten from the Stoker side, well, I know it's from the Stoker side. I believe it's also much more diminished, but on the Price side of things as well, which is my mother's side. On the Stoker side, it's my grandmother, who was very Christian and very conservative, probably the most of any of my family. And I love her. God, we're so close. I love that woman so much. Anyway, she told me she was born with a veil over her eyes. And if you don't know what that is, or if your listeners don't know what that is, yes, please go ahead, Cole.
It's the call. It's the intact, what do you call it? It's amniotic sac, sort of.
It's like and it's kind of like a piece of skin that's kind of fused over your eyes, and they call it like a veil over your eyes, right? And it's easy to get rid of. Like, there's no scarring or anything like that. It's just a little piece of skin. It's like almost transparent. It's translucent, right? But the idea or the belief is that right there says you have the gift. You will have the gift, and it's been given you, and it is a part of who you are and a part of your family lineage. And she was told her whole life by people, you have the gift. You have the gift. You have the gift. But she, in her belief system, and her Christianity and her religion, believed that it was wrong. Or wrong for her to delve into. She just didn't feel like it was right for her practice and her beliefs, and I can respect that. But she never stopped believing it was there, and she never thought, because she even said she's thought about, like, well, God gave prophets gifts, God gave them gifts, so why not me? But she just never was fully. Also, I think it also scared her a little bit, I think that had a lot to do with it too. But I appreciated that she told me that, because I had shared with her some primitive dreams I'd had, and that I was feeling like I had these things, these gifts, and she shared that with me. And she did so, even though it wasn't part of what she believes is right for her. She shared that with me because she knew it would help me understand. And she believes me when I say I have these gifts and these experiences. And she encourages it because she knows that it gives me hope and peace. And it's coming regardless of whether or not I want it to or not. And I've learned how to close that door, which is what she did so successfully. But I'm more not so much, I don't want to keep that door closed. I know how to close it and open it when I want to, but sometimes it just flies open on its own, and that's okay too. And my uncle, who taught me about witchcraft and tarot, he also has the gift. And, and that's something that I very much also believe has been passed down in my family. And it's all a part of it. Gosh, I think it's just all intertwined. And it's, for me, my who I am and the gifts I have and the interests I have is all a culmination of that kind of, I think, spiritual genetics and nurture versus nature. The fact that I was encouraged at a young age to pursue spooky things, and like that my family was excited that the second grader was writing a horror story, and that my mother, who didn't like creepy things or spooky things, actively saw how much I loved Nightmare Before Christmas as an infant before I could speak, and constantly put that on a loop for me, even though she didn't like it, even though it was like, what's wrong? Why is she singing Kidnap the Sandy Claus when she loves Santa? Like, but it's absolutely very much a part of my environment. Do I think I'd always be the spooky person? Yes. If I was adopted, I think I would eventually understand who I was, but I'm grateful for both the nurture and the nature side of what I've gotten and gained from that side of things.
I absolutely love all of that. And we do have to wrap up, but I wanted to ask one last question. So have you ever been in an English class or a bookstore or like a library, somewhere where it's like someone's been like a heavy reader and they've happened to recognize your last name? Like, have you ever like introduced yourself or something and had someone like go, wait, that's Stoker?
Honestly, the first time that happened was a couple months ago at Disney. I say the first time. I'm sure it's happened before, but again, I have memory issues. I'm not gonna always remember those things. But yeah, I think with the most recent account was a couple of weeks ago. I live in Orlando, or Kissimmee, so I go, to Disney regularly. And I was at Disney World with some friends, and we actually stopped over in England, in Epcot, and went to the pub. And I was speaking with some people, and they were from Europe. They had been part of the college program, but were just in town still. And I introduced myself, and we were talking. I just introduced myself as Shanna, because I don't say, hi, I'm Shanna Stoker. I was just like, yeah, I'm Shanna. Nice to meet you, And we had a nice chat. Like, we sat down and talked and stuff. And of course, we're exchanging information at the end, because we wanted to I want to be your friend. You're cool. You're great. This is cool. Which I do a lot with people that I meet randomly. This is how I find my friends in my tribe, right?
That's the Hufflepuff.
My people, right? So I gave them my card with the ghoulish garb information, because that's the only card I have with all my info on it. And they were like, oh, okay, Shanna Stoker. And then they went, Stoker? And I don't know. I think when people see it, that's when it clicks for them. Hearing Stoker, for some reason, because they're focused on Shanna. They're focused on the first name that they're going to be talking about, who they're talking to, Shanna. Okay, right? But when you read it, I think that's when people tend to be like, wait, what? And then I was like, yeah, that's it. Bram Stoker. That's I'm related to him. He would have been my cousin. And that's when they were like, no way, we've been talking to Bram. Like, we've been talking. And it's this funny thing. It's weird. And I'm also like, like, I feel so awkward, because I'm like, oh no. I don't want you to think I'm trying to be like a clout chaser or anything. It's just my name. It's just who I am. It's interesting, but yeah,
I find that
funny. It's always funny.
Maybe it's because I grew up as like a weird kid, sort of like you, like, interested in this stuff. And like, for like when I turned 15, my Christmas list was I wanted a copy of Dracula, and my mom got me this beautiful limited edition illustrated copy. But like the second I saw you like heard you say hi, my name is Shanna Stoker, I was like, hold the phone. Well, actually, that's a funny thing to say because I was literally holding the phone. Anyway,
holding the phone, right?
But I literally like all of the wheels in my head stopped screeching, and I'm texting Nana. I was like, you would not believe who I just came across on TikTok, and she at first was like, okay, yeah. I was like, yeah, no, literally, she's related to the dude who was Dracula. Like, oh.
It's really funny. It's funny to me.
What really like stood out to me wasn't just the fact that you were a stoker. It was that you're a stoker and a witch, and I was like, oh my god, she's literally exactly what I would hope. Like, if somebody told me like if Edgar Allan Poe had relations and they were witches, I would be like, holy crap, that is so perfect. Like, it just, I don't know, it just makes sense. And it's a good feeling. Like, it's like, hey, classical author, family related to classical author, and there is a pagan in the family who's pretty badass. So it's like, I don't know, it's really, it's a weird way how my brain works, but I just love it.
Feel better. Honestly, I really like that, and that makes me feel better because I think that's the thing I really am so adamant about is I am so very much a person beyond my name, and in my own right, I'm a spooky lady and a spooky entrepreneur and all this stuff and a witch, and so I think that's my thing is I really appreciate and I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to make that for myself and make that evident and like explore and develop who I wanted to be in a way that I feel confident to say now, hey, yeah, I'm related to Bram Stoker, but also like you might be interested in who I am too, like and it's
that was what really caught my eye when I was like, well, that's when I realized that this was like the universe saying it's time. This is going to be your first guest for this segment because it's time. Like, cause like we've been doing the Nerd Queens for a few years now. We've been podcasting for maybe 2 or 3 now, which is crazy to think about.
That's amazing.
And we've mostly focused on comic artists. We on directors and stuff like that. And I've been dying to get into more of the witchcraft side of our lives and talk to more witches and just kind of like open up a bit more. And like, because, nerd can be a nerd of many things, including being a witch.
And I'm such a nerd. So like, it incorporates into my witchcraft for sure.
Like, you popped up on my For You page and I was like, well, that's a sign. Like at first I was interested just because the way you introduced yourself and you talked about your heritage in the first video. And then I went to your page and I just scrolled through your videos. I think I watched almost all of them, just like getting to know you as a person. And I was like, this is a sign. It's time. We have to do this. Because like, the problem with planning a segment is you never know who's going to be your first guest. And it just felt like, the universe was like, hey, hi, hello. There's this lady here who's pretty awesome, fits all of your all of your interests, and she just happens to be related to this author you like. So do the thing.
That's awesome. I love hearing that you felt really like led to reach out, and I'm so glad you did, and I'm so grateful for like the opportunity to speak with people like you and get to know you and hopefully form friendships because I think you're wonderful people, and I've just really enjoyed getting to hear about your personal experiences as well and how they relate to my own, and I just think what you're doing is awesome. So thank you for letting me be a part of it for a moment.
Thank you so much for coming on and like talking. And so before we let you go and we say goodbye for now, is there anything other than we got the Ghoulish Garb, which is where people can find you? Do you have a brick and mortar store for people to visit yet?
Not yet, but I'm hoping, and I would love for it to be in a spooky town. Salem is of course the goal, but hopefully one day.
Oh my gosh, we love Salem.
We fell instantly in love with Salem, like the energy, the vibe, the people, like.
Okay, I have to say I've never been.
Can have witch vibe until I went to Salem.
I've never been, but let me tell you, I am like so itching. I've been itching to go for my whole life since I watched Hocus Pocus because I was obsessed with it, and I always thought practical magic was set there as well. But so what I've done, because I crave it. I know it's weird, but I feel like, and I know there's like, we all say this, but I don't know. I just feel very much like I'm being pulled there. And
100%.
so sometimes I just go on YouTube and will look up like videos about the town or about like people who live there talking about the community or the Halloween stuff. And I very much feel like I just think that having a store, having a brick and mortar period, but having one in a community where they embrace witchcraft and paganism and just different lifestyles, would be beautiful. And I would love to make it not just a store where you're going to buy things, but like a place where there's a cozy corner if you want to go practice tarot. We're having we're going to have a class this Saturday where we talk about tarot and art and how to start your own business, or we're going
to open a store so right now.
Yeah, and whenever you do, let us know, because we want to be like in the line for the first day.
Oh, you're beautiful.
we will literally be there for the ribbon cutting, not even joking. But like especially if it's in Salem. Honestly, the most beautiful thing about Salem is is that it became famous because of witch trials of not actual witches, just women who were knowledgeable.
Yes.
And it seems like the pagan community, the witch community of the world, has claimed it and turned it into this safe haven for people like us who are spiritual or interested in this stuff and just more eclectic. And I think that's what part of why the energy is just so beautiful and drawing to people.
Gosh, I can't wait to go.
You need to go. Like, if you need to make time, pandemic's wrapping up. Wrap it up, Corona. You gotta go. Got a trip to make.
My mother and I have actually talked about, and I know we have to go, but I just want to share it because again, it's about my mom. She in the recent years, and I think a lot of that has to do with me delving more into it. She loves ghosts and paranormal and horror and true crime, and huge differences. And so she and I have talked about taking a road trip up the Eastern Coast, and doing like going to haunted sites, and then stopping, like make like the destination is Salem, and we would stay there for like a few days or a week, and come back and do it all over, do more haunted sites on the way back. But that is absolutely something I would love to do. But I'm dying to get to Salem so very much. And hopefully one day we'll make that
I live in North New Jersey, so if you do that, hit me up. New Jersey's
I'd love
a lot more haunted than people realize, and I love
honestly,
it.
I think everything is,
just
right?
Don't let her to take you on Clinton Road.
Oh, I love spooky. So if it's scary, tell me. Like, I love
spooky and a little bit life-threatening, but it's worth it at least once. I've been at least 4 times.
Let's do it.
I'm down. Nana refuses to go back. But let's so thank you for coming, and so that's the first episode of WitchCast.